Stand your ground against oppressive government. Padarat calls on WASA workers. I told you so. So said Princestown MP and opposition shadow minister of public utilities Barry Padarat, following confirmation on Saturday from public utilities minister Marvin Gonzalez and water and sewage authority chairman Ravindra Nanga that the state company will cut 200 positions as it restructures its labor force. In a news release yesterday, Padarat said the revelation is just the tip of what is to come at WASA. We're looking at WASA here. Mr. Padarat, the shadow Minister of Public Utilities and MP for Princestown, he's saying that he told WASA. Yeah, but Mr. Padarat is speaking here like this is a massive revelation. Padarat is saying, listen, we have to watch out. Padarat said he has been raising the issue of coming layoffs at WASA in the public domain for the past few months. However, Gonzalez denied this until the numbers were revealed in Parliament during the Standing Finance Committee in October of 2023. Padarat said the government took over 60 million off the books of WASA in the area of NRS contributions, and therefore, while Gonzalez announced the middle managers were being sent home very soon, it also spelled disaster for thousands of other employees. Here's the thing though. I don't know if Mr. Padarat didn't follow all of the articles, but this isn't exactly a revelation. This isn't a new thing that Padarat was talking about, because this story has been in and around the news for some time now. This isn't a brand new revelation. From July 30th, 2022, 2 years ago, government planning 600 million VSEP for WASA. The board of WASA has projected that it will cost the government 600 million to fund the VSEP for the employees of the utility, VSEP being Voluntary Separation of Employment Program. The Express was told that the transformation plan for WASA submitted to cabinet indicated that the government considered an expenditure of 600 million for the VSEP. So it's not a strange revelation that no one knows how this ever happened. Not exactly. They were speaking about this a little while now. The cost is inclusive of 213 WASA managers, Public Utilities Minister said. Now, they went into explaining why this was necessary. WASA survives as a result of subventions from the government. WASA chairman told the Express that in 2020, the government subsidized WASA to the tune of $1.5 billion. In 2021, the government disbursed $1.78 billion to the company. The cost to run WASA is about $2.5 billion annually, while its revenue is about $800 million. You're understanding that something isn't adding up there. It's 2.5 to run, it's 800 million coming in. And then we constantly wonder where the government is spending the money. Why does the government need property tax? Why are they trying to fleece the motorists on the street? Every corner you're seeing these police. They're sending out price mart grocery bills for tickets now, apparently. But the government needs to do that because some managers are sitting in WASA collecting salary upon salary. When compared, there was a report submitted to cabinet about WASA and its management and worker levels. When compared to the regional benchmark of 8 employees per 1,000 connections, WASA's staff per connection ratio of 13 employees per 1,000 is unacceptably high. And this is the thing that I find so strange in politics. We have the opposition party speaking like they don't understand this. Like this is foreign stuff. They're trying to rile up WASA workers, that WASA workers stand up for your rights, while they understand that this is a bloated, inefficient company that is sucking like a leech from the country. So why pretend like you don't understand that this company needs to be dealt with? Why attempt to make it more difficult to handle this company? Like, don't tell the workers that they can't, they must fight for their rights and remain employed. Tell them that something needs to happen. Maybe you might think the government's idea is bad, but okay, well, propose an alternate idea. That's why you don't trust people like this. Don't trust politicians like this. A politician who watches something like WASA, understanding that it's running on 2.5 billion, collecting $800,000, and you're telling the workers, fight for your rights, nobody must fire all must stay employed. What? How? A March 2018 report titled WASA Top Management Assessment by Strategic Consultants found that the utility had a headcount of 5,393. The report found that WASA had 8 levels of leadership. WASA has 8 levels of leadership: directors, heads, senior managers, department managers, assistant managers, section managers, unit managers, and supervisors, instead of the normal 3 to 4. Fireflame says nobody works in WASA. Dropped a form to get my name on my bill 4 years later. Bill still on previous owner name. Well, how are people going to work when there are all these levels of management? And you know what that's doing? If a company needs 4 directors and it needs 20 managers, and you force a portfolio in between director and manager to create some nebulous nonsense, the company is obviously going to start to double in its management numbers. And that's what was going on with WASA. The normal approach is 3 levels: top, middle, and supervisory, according to the AGAD report. Again, the report said the normal is 3 levels. You have your top management, your middle management, and supervisory. WASA had 8. More than double the levels of management and leadership out there. In total, the WASA's top management staff is 426. It breaks this down as follows: top management 60, middle management 113, and supervision 254, said the 2018 report. So WASA is overflowing with managers and supervisors, and still work can't get done. You know, regularly I stumble across the meme where they show you a group of WASA workers working on a site somewhere, and 10 workers sitting outside and 1 worker in the hole doing the job. And then I think I saw an edit on that meme once where they said, and if they're firing somebody, they're going to fire the 1 worker inside the hole that's working. Well, the reason that is because all the other men on the outside are managers. That's why they are all managers. The managers don't work, obviously. The report said that on 2 previous occasions, WASA has attempted to right-size the organization, just as JFKL was talking about there with the forestry division, that those attempts are made quite regularly. It was attempted before. In spite of these efforts, the employee headcount has averaged approximately 5,000 over the period 2012 to 2017. Because people benefit from that. That's as simple as it gets. That's as simple as it gets. How are we as a country supposed to efficiently move forward when we have state enterprises like this attached to us on all directions, on all sides? How are we? How are we? It's not only they are inefficient, they also actively work against good practices. I was reading about the insanity in Mon Diablo, to pull that one up. Ex-WASA worker behind Mon Diablo $1 million water trucking scam. The suffering of more than 5,000 residents in the rural community of Mon Diablo has come to an end as the public utilities minister has blown the lid off a multi-million-dollar water trucking racket. The residents who have been forced to purchase water for $300 a truckload, forking up between $600 and $1,800 per household per month, are breathing a sigh of relief as they are now being provided with a free supply from WASA, while government is also working apace to complete installation of 2.4 kilometers of pipeline in the district by month end. All these employees, and they are still subcontracting work. Well, they can't get anything done because all of their employees are managers. So of course they have to subcontract it. You can't get the managers to do any work. Unscrupulous private operators, they claimed, were deliberately locking off WASA's valves to force them to buy the essential commodity. Sunday Guardian was told that the mastermind behind the illegal operation, which existed for more than a decade, is a former WASA worker called a turncock who turns the water supply on and off in the mains. And these things, when you have a company with all those managers, you're telling me that someone could turn off the water supply for 5,000 residents and nobody knows about it? Really? Really? Nobody knows about it. And I'm sorry. Those things have to be known. Those things have to be known. That's not something that you go through and nobody ever knows anything. This is a purely hidden thing. This guy was so dastardly and sneaky and conniving that nobody could have figured out what he was doing for a decade, 10 years and more. 10 years and more. And all this running. Shad says, come Nathan, justification to restructure in the air. Good night, Rachel Glubman. Now, yeah, it is justification to restructure, but the fact is that WASA needs restructuring. Like, okay, I understand that as politicians and governments restructure these companies, they would attempt to sneak in things that are to their benefit, but still, nonetheless, that doesn't change the fact that the current thing in its current incarnation is a weight around the country's neck. To me, there's a lot of similarity, not necessarily in WASA and Petrotrin, because at least Petrotrin could have been profitable, but the argument is similar. And like many people argue that the Prime Minister did the wrong thing by closing Petrotrin because it could have been profitable. Maybe it could have been, but if the country would have continued running it in its unprofitable state for another 20 years, then it would have been better we just close it down and done. Trini Utep says no, just more confidence to afuera, everything. You get that feeling. Listen. And this is what I often talk about. People speak about privatization of things like it's so crazy and unheard of and impossible. A rural, poorer community was living with a private water supply, exorbitant and oppressive by nature. Price gouging by nature, and these poor rural people were able to live with a private supply of water for over 10 years. You telling me we can't kick out WASA and get some private companies to privatize this whole water distribution business and we would all survive normal? But I understand that song's a step too far for a country like Trinidad and Tobago, and maybe we don't go there yet. But nonetheless, it seems obvious that this thing cannot continue as it is. Willie Bang says, my problem with the closing down of Petrotrin wasn't that in itself, but more so the non-replacement. Replacement by what? By whom? They attempted to get private buyers to buy it. That's what you do when you're trying to get out of that. So for me, I don't mind the government getting out and attempting to get private buyers to buy it, and maybe we tax the private buyers. That makes more sense than the government running this thing, because government just doesn't run it well. I wouldn't want the government to close it down and reopen another one that they create. No, not really. Left a gap. Now, it's interesting to me that they can't get private buyers either. You wonder how economically viable the business is in the first place. If it was something so economically viable, wouldn't wouldn't international private buyers be lining up from the door? Like, think about these things without just the national patriotic kind of emotional attachment to some of them. Like, think of them realistically. Is it? Now, maybe if we had governments that could have moved like dynamic boardrooms and made decisions much swifter, maybe we could have done something with Guyana and worked as the refinery for Guyana's oil and all of that. But in the process of governments attempting to work that out, we'd have been losing billions of dollars.